Hi, I'm Mel.
Hi, I'm Danny, and we're the Sheehan sisters. How are you all doing today? Thank you so much for joining us again. If you haven't seen our faces before, welcome. Grab a snack, grab your coffee, your tea, your whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever helps you relax. Because we're getting into some things today and shit's going down.
Shit's going down, the ship is going down. And let's just clarify what we're going to be speaking about. So, Danny and I have come to the realization that we are a commentary channel. We commentate on astrology, we commentate on movies, we commentate on TV shows. And today we're going to be touching on a more serious topic, and that is the state of our country and the world. And if it wasn't obvious, we live in America. Just a moment of silence for that. Disclaimer, Danny and I are not political experts, if you didn't know that. But we are entertainers and artists. And as long as we have this platform, we want to use it to spread knowledge and share resources and build community. So in today's video, we're going to be sharing posts from other creators who have a more expansive knowledge on those topics that we're going to be touching on today. And this first video that I'm going to be showing is by the creator Brittany Elizabeth, and I think this is a perfect start to this video. She's speaking about what everyone's role in the revolution, in activism, in society, I'm going to just let her speak.
Please don't presume to know what role everybody should play in a revolution, because you don't. Not everybody is meant to be on the front lines. Not everybody is meant to be screaming on social media. Some people are, but not everyone. The healers are also important. People who can teach people to remain regulated are also important. If you haven't noticed, they are attempting to keep us dysregulated right now. So those of us who know how to constantly regulate are equally important. The artists are equally important. The nurturers are equally important. People who have chosen to take a break from all of this and take rest are equally important. Rest is an act of rebellion too. One reason we're here in the first place is because we don't do community all that well in this country. So what will behoove us at this time is to come together in groups and figure out what everybody's strong suit is so that we can work together, i.e. work in community. You know, I don't talk about this much, but the person who impregnated my mother to make me was in the military, and his role in the military was to sing. I'm sharing this for everyone, but especially for my fellow autists who have a strong moral compass, because the hard truth is every once in a while our compasses are steered in the wrong direction, and we make mistakes too. We need each other right now, so picking apart others of us is not the way. If you don't know what somebody else is doing to get everybody through this moment, mind your business. Just because you don't see it don't mean it ain't happening.
I love this message because Danny and I have been speaking about this a lot, where people tend to activist shame. And I think now is not the time to be questioning how or why people are speaking up. However, one more disclaimer I do want to make as a cis, white, straight female in the world, we are the ones that do need to speak up. So if I were to shame anyone, it would probably be other fellow white people, and we want to use this platform to push other people like us to speak up and to come forward more often. As she said in this video, rest is an act of rebellion. That doesn't apply to us because we are not rebelling against much. The system already works in our favor. So we need to let the other people, the minorities that are being affected, let them rest, and we need to step up. We need to let the people that are being affected rest, and we need to take action.
Right, I do agree. I do feel as white women, it is our obligation to speak up for marginalized voices, as well as educate our fellow white people, especially those who aren't staying informed or those that feel as though these issues don't apply to them. Human rights is everyone's problem. If you feel like it's not affecting you, that doesn't mean it won't, and you would want people in your corner too. So we all need to care about each other more. We need to be compassionate more, and we need to stay informed, especially as white people. We need to be the ones that are on the front lines and protecting those who are being harmed right now.
Exactly. It really confuses me when people were like, it doesn't bother me, so they don't care. It's like, you don't care about other people, you don't care about humanity, but you really can't teach empathy. And that's just the sad truth of it. And one thing I wanted to say before we continue is people keep saying these are unprecedented times. We're living in unprecedented times. Like, I keep seeing that. And I'm just like, no, we're living in the same timeline as we've always been. These are issues that have always been prevalent. They're just not hiding it anymore.
I do appreciate Brittany Elizabeth's message because I do feel there are roles we all need to take on during this time, and our healers are vital. A page that Mel and I have been following for years is Ajna Shara. We'll put her page on the screen. If you are looking for some spiritual guidance, please check out her page because she has helped us immensely over the past few years, and there are quite a few gems in there. I found this next creator through the page Revolutionary Memes, and their page is Jules Bonds. So let's see what they have to say.
I've been really trying to receive the information and the feedback of people feeling that leftism is a very purity, joy-snatching, condescending, elitist space. And I think a lot about a lot of the authors I've read over the last year, a lot of the revolutionary thinkers and their ideas and how they present their ideas in writing. And one of the first things that I noticed very quickly is how, like, those authors know that the audience that is going to go read those books who are like-minded are going to receive their information in a very on-the-face way, no fluff, nothing like that. And I think then as a leftist trying to transfer that information from theory, from organizing in these spaces where information is not sugar-coated, information is given to you, and if you're not ready to receive it, it is on you to take that time to process it and do with that what you will, and then come back into these spaces and be ready to keep on going. And I think trying to present that information in a mixed online space is very difficult. Because I think inherently not everybody's necessarily looking for that information, but that information might end up on their For You page. And then we're having conversations with people whose baselines, we're already starting from different places. If you're existing in a leftist space, you're already existing in an anti-capitalist space. And that can be very jarring when not presented in a way that is more like I don't know, like, I think the word I'm looking for is like more like nice, but not quite that language. As somebody who is trying to receive the information genuinely from people's critiques and failures that they feel that they see within leftism, is that like leftists are literally like unalived by the state. And this isn't to say that everybody isn't attacked by the state, but there's a very clear reason why conservatism is on the rise within the United States and around the globe, and why it is allowed to exist, and why like leftism is wiped out, why people who go to protests are like attacked and silenced by the police. There is a reason why conservatism is allowed to take root, and other political ideologies, and even liberalism, let's also call that out, liberalism too. Like, there's a reason why these ideologies are allowed to take root and leftism isn't. There is a reason why a lot of the most revolutionary thinkers you can think of either exist in exile or have been taken out by the state. There are reasons to this. And so I feel like when we get on the internet and we just flat out denounce this ideology, I think we also need to recognize what that comes with, and the people who have a very vested interest in seeing that toppling of leftist ideologies. But I'm trying to receive this information about what it means to be a leftist and like how that is being perceived by the greater world. But I also need us to understand we are very quickly running out of time. We are running out of time. And it is something that has been put in motion for a very long time.
I feel like this creator is trying to present their ideologies in a way that can be receptive to those that may not necessarily agree with those ideologies. And that's something I've been thinking about as well, because I want to go into spaces open-minded. I feel like a lot of our contrasting political ideologies gets in the way from mutually agreeing on a baseline, and I specifically feel like our baseline should be that everyone should be granted human rights, shelter, food, healthcare. But to some, that even that baseline is radical, right? So when I'm thinking about, oh, how do I want to present what I feel and what I believe during this political divide in a way that others can be open-minded and receptive. And that's not to say that they will. You can articulate things in all different ways, and if someone doesn't agree, they don't agree, right? We're so accustomed to surviving in a capitalist society that it's even hard to perceive what an anti-capitalist society could be. And I do feel like there's an element of selfishness for those that feel like, I don't know, it's talking about politics is difficult in general. You know, in my perspective, it's like, yeah, well, why shouldn't we all care about each other? And for other people not to feel that way, it's wild to me, right? But then when I'm presenting my views and what I feel that we should be provided, that is wild and radical to others that don't agree with it. So it is always going to be difficult, no matter how you say something or how you present something.
Speaking in general is not easy, especially public speaking. And politics have become so convoluted, and it really doesn't need to be. And it is crazy that it's radical to be like, let's just give everyone food and homes. Like, that's, yeah, Danny and I don't know how to conceptualize people who don't understand that, or just hatred and judgment in general.
You don't need to make it your mission to take away rights from other people just because their lifestyle makes you uncomfortable. If you're living your life to the values that you align with, then that's all that should matter. We should all be able to live freely, and we should all have the option to live the way that we want to live. I feel like if you're not being evil and you're not, the big P and a serial killer and a murderer and, the real true evils of the world, then just let people be. And this is the tale of oldest time. The ability to divide the masses by creating propaganda around a specific marginalized group in order to stir that hatred in others who don't necessarily understand that group and don't necessarily relate to that group, but it's like that group can still exist. That group can still have rights.
And it's just astounding that there are people who still think that this is some big conspiracy theory that the government is not helping us. Like, it's not a conspiracy theory at this point. It's right there out in the open. We're still going into other countries and colonizing. Nothing has changed from centuries ago. The history they teach you in school, throw it out the window. Besides, not the Constitution though. Let's keep that one in. Maybe change it a little bit, but a lot of what you've seen that's happened in the past is still happening right now.
I did just briefly want to read one of the comments on this video. So this person said, I think the larger issue is that leftists think they are creating something new, which in reality, the way they present the information is often carceral and even abusive at times. It also doesn't keep in mind that 60 to 70% of the US population has below a 6th grade reading level, and instead of being humble and speaking in ways that everyone can grasp, leftists tend to get defensive and not practice what they preach.
I do see the point they're trying to make, because I have seen that message. Again, not that they're doing something new, but kind of like something like, oh, it's never been done before. We're going to be, and obviously every generation wants to feel like they're going to be the generation to make the change. But again, we can't divide. There's already enough divide going on. We can't keep doing more of that and acting like, well, I'm doing more than you did, or you didn't do enough to help. Because there have been protests happening for centuries, and everybody that speaks up is adding to the impact. So again, we can't really act like, oh, what I'm doing is new, and it's new in a way where, like you said, it hasn't hit fully yet. We haven't gotten there yet. The changes that we want made haven't fully been made. Again, I may not be expressing this in the most articulate way.
There's always going to be extremes within any political party. So that's something we have to consider when we're receiving other people's political ideologies, is that even if we're on the same spectrum, you may have a more extreme perspective than I do. But yeah, I agree. Like, you don't need to use the highest vocabulary. Do we all need to expand our vocabulary? In my opinion, yes. But like this person mentioned, in America, unfortunately, 60, and I'll have to double check this fact, that 60 to 70% of the US population has below a 6th grade reading level. I know we're more in the technology age and most of us just want to consume content, but we do think it's vital to bring back reading books.
Exactly. Because again, like Danny was saying, it's not about speaking well, but at least having the knowledge and the education. We have those tools available, and they may not be available for long, seeing where this country is headed. And even just recently, Trump was talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, and it's like, that's the last thing we need to get rid of. And I'm sure a lot of things we even speak about in this video, it's all going to change by the time this is uploaded. It's all going to change in the next hour because he's creating chaos and fear-mongering. But I did want to know about speaking, right? If you look at politicians throughout history, they all speak so perfectly and eloquently, and they're telling you exactly what you need to hear. And most of it was bullshit, so don't even worry about how you're speaking, as long as the message is getting across. But yeah, and then Danny pointed this out to me, even though I already can see this and hear it, about the way this man, that's how I'm gonna refer to him, how this man speaks, because that's not my president.
Not my president.
The way this man speaks, and it's like, yeah, he is speaking to, if that fact is correct, the 60-70% of Americans that are either illiterate or have low education levels. And they did that by design.
For those of you that are like, oh, well, I don't know where to start with my activism, find a good starting point for you, and then you'll grow from there. You don't have to overwhelm yourself and be like, well, I need to do all this, this, and that. Pick one thing that you feel like you can be useful in right now. If that's calling your representative, emailing your representative, if that's texting your friends who are being affected at this moment, start there, right? Because one message that is being spread right now is silence is death. And the point is, you're making an effort. And that's why we're saying we're not here to activist shame, right? Because it's better than you not doing anything and pretending like this is not happening. We'll be linking multiple resources in the description below, but there is a post that I found that does give you a couple of options on how you can be an activist right now. So for those of you that are unsure, take a look at that link, see what you feel comfortable with. And also, it's okay to feel uncomfortable because that's how you grow. So if you have to start doing things that make you feel uncomfortable, start doing them, because we're already in an uncomfortable time. And with that said, let's move on to our next video that has touched upon what we just mentioned before, where we both feel like should be a basic human right to have shelter, food, and, in my opinion, healthcare.
So you just think everyone should have food and shelter? Yes. Yes, I fucking do. And I am tired of people trying to convince me that that's ridiculous. Okay? I am tired of existing in a world where there are dumpsters full of edible food because someone didn't exchange the imaginary shiny rocks for it. Okay? Every single one of our problems can be traced back to capitalism and some asshole who wanted to make more money by doing less, and oh my God, we have enough. We're just not giving it to people. We will do everything but just give people homes and food. You know how much more productive people would be if they weren't spending every minute of their waking lives worrying about how they're going to survive? If you need the threat of starvation and homelessness to contribute to anything, that's a fucking you problem, okay? Get out of my comment section.
This is
the energy.
As someone who has worked in the food service industry for over a decade, I have had to throw out a lot of food, and I've tried my best not to. And unfortunately, it's sad that you can lose your job over trying to feed people. And there are shelters that will turn away the food because legally they can't even accept it. Isn't that crazy? And I've seen this rhetoric going around more and more where it's like, fuck the law. Sometimes the law they don't make sense, and they're not what's right. Just because it's a law doesn't mean it's right. Like, we have to start feeding and helping each other.
And you know what's crazier? Are the people that feel like, oh, well, they should have done better. They should have worked harder. It's like, I understand the anger. Like, you really don't think that people deserve to eat? Like, we need that to survive. We literally, as much as we need oxygen, we need water and food and a fucking shelter. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of land. There's plenty of land. There's a reason they have all of us squished together, especially in major cities, because that's the way that they can control us. It's like sheeps in a fucking herd. There's plenty of land. There's plenty of space for all of us. We could build plenty of homes for everyone. And that's what pisses me off more, is that people think that we all don't deserve that.
And like Danny mentioned, it's like, oh, they should have worked harder. And that leads me to go into our next video that I'm gonna present. And we're gonna talk about another person that raises my blood pressure, and the only person I feel that needs to be deported back to the depths of hell. That is Elon Musk, who for some reason is controlling our government. What the fuck?
You don't even go here.
You don't go. Leave. Get out. Please leave us alone. Leave right now.
It's the end of you and me.
We never wanted there to be you and me.
We never did. We never did. Nobody asked for this.
Nobody asked for this. I was joking with Danny how before I was more well-versed in the world and I was thinking about billionaires, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they just became like Batman or Iron Man? And no, they became Lex Luthor instead. And a number of other evil supervillains. And I'm like, what universe am I living in? But I don't want to be here. This is weird. But yeah, Elon Musk has gotten his hands real deep into our lives. I also made this point recently to Danny about how the working class really thought Trump was for them. And I'm here to tell you, he thinks Elon Musk is a working class man. He thinks Elon Musk pulled his bootstraps and made it out the mud. Like, he thinks those guys, all the billionaires, are hardworking people. He's not thinking about you. He doesn't care about you. I found this next post on the page, Decolonize Myself. And again, we're gonna link everything down below. And I get a lot of my information from this page. And the woman speaking in the video is Laura Barron Lopez, and she is a White House correspondent. And I'm just gonna let the video speak for itself.
What is happening at the U.S. Agency for International Development, also known as USAID? USAID is the main U.S. agency that provides humanitarian assistance and developmental assistance. USAID works with nonprofits and funds disaster relief response, vaccines, mosquito netting, health services, as well as food to hungry communities across the globe. And that can amount to roughly $38 billion annually, according to the most recent estimates provided by the government. That only accounts for 1% or less of the U.S. federal budget. So what is happening inside USAID? There are two key players that you need to know. Pete Morocco, who is an appointee to the State Department by the Trump administration, a big Trump ally who also was a believer in the January 6th Capitol attack. And then there's Elon Musk, the billionaire tech mogul, who is overseeing what's known as the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Those two people, Pete Morocco and Elon Musk, are simultaneously working to either fully dismantle USAID or put a smaller version of USAID into the State Department. Now, we're not sure at this point what is ultimately going to happen, but it's increasingly looking like USAID may be fully abolished altogether. And that's because Elon Musk overnight said publicly that he's been talking to President Donald Trump and that he and President Donald Trump agree that USAID should be shut down completely. And so a number of lawmakers and humanitarian aid workers across the world are raising alarm bells about this. And that includes some Republicans. Thousands of workers in DC and across the globe could be losing their jobs. Some are losing access to their emails. USAID staffers were notified this morning that headquarters was being shut down. Branding and other things that within the building have been taken off of its walls. And so there is a general sense of fear among USAID workers. Some are also telling me that they're worried about being doxxed. And there are a lot of unknowns about what is happening to USAID, but it looks as though, based on all of the sources that myself as well as my colleagues at PBS NewsHour are talking to, it looks as though USAID could very well end up being dismantled sometime this week.
The absurdity of it all, that they are getting rid of a lot of government aid.
Well, this is where I'm wondering if people who did vote for Trump, if they're realizing that all these sectors of the government that are being dismantled is affecting them as well. And it's ironic that Trump ran on the idea that he was going to bring back jobs to Americans, all the while dismantling a number of important sectors in our government and taking jobs away from said Americans.
Right, and taking jobs away from people that are in the government. He gave all his friends jobs. There was also, he froze federal funding. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Again, everything's changing literally by the minute. So if what we're saying in this video is relevant or not relevant, we're not sure, because he's all over the place and you really can't keep up with it. But it just looks like he's taking away all these programs that were designed to help people. And something that is mentioned in this video, how Republicans are speaking out, and I really don't think this is a Republican Democrat thing anymore. Even the video Danny showed earlier about, what are you, leftist, are you liberal, are you this? It's are you good or are you evil? Where are your values? Where are your morals?
Right, and I feel like that goes back to the baseline question, where we should all be able to agree on the baseline of people over profit, human rights, food, shelter. Like we keep repeating, why can't we all collectively agree on that baseline? And then everything else that you believe is what you believe. But we shouldn't be taking away more resources from one another.
Right. The country and people should not be run as a business. And that's what's happening.
And you know what? That leads me to segue into our next video.
It was started as a business. It's not about your freedom. It's a business. So we're sitting up begging these white men to give us rights. No, affect their money. That's why white men change stuff. Segregation ended because of the Montgomery boycott, because the city of Montgomery almost went bankrupt because of an 18-month boycott. These white men all of a sudden change their minds. Abraham Lincoln did not free enslaved people because he felt like he needed to do this. He did it to cripple the South economically. Anytime they've done anything, it wasn't to help us because we were humans. It was to mess up another white man's money. So we don't get rights until we mess up a white man's money. That's it. And until they see us as human beings, we have to mess their money up. That's it.
That's it. That's really it. And when people say boycotting doesn't do anything, it does if we all actually participate. And you may go back into videos and see maybe we were supporting companies back in the day, but again, we're learning with each day, and the more information that is out there, because sometimes you don't know what are the right companies to support. And that's, again, one of the reasons we're making this video and want to make more videos similar to this, where we're sharing creators and resources and sharing business owners, small business owners specifically.
Right, like Mel said, there is evidence and statistics that prove that boycotting does work, specifically with Starbucks, for example, which, like Mel said, you can see us in past videos drinking Starbucks, but obviously the more we educated ourselves, the more we stopped supporting that business. And I do want to say, if someone does buy a coffee from Starbucks, let's not shame them. This is what we need to go back to. It's like, hey, educate them. Like, maybe they're just not fully aware, or maybe that's bringing, I don't know, it's difficult because I'm saying maybe it's bringing them joy in their life, but we do have to affect the pockets of these big businesses.
Of course, and not to cut you off, but it is hard when you don't know what you're supposed to support and what you're not supposed to support. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I made a mistake in the past by supporting this company, but I didn't know their rights and their beliefs at the time of purchasing these items. I think we have to get to a level where it's like, oh, we can't, it's gonna get to a level where we really can't support a lot of things because America is a monopoly. So there are even so many small businesses that have a parent company, and there's all these levels and layers to it. So we have to give people grace and educate.
Right, and I did want to point out, like, if you bought the clothes already, what are you going to do? Throw them out? When there are people out there who need clothes, regardless of who it's from. Yeah, don't continue buying from that brand anymore. No, if you bought it already, there are other people out there who need it. Don't keep buying from them in the future. We just keep buying when we don't necessarily need it. And that's something I've been reflecting on. Like, okay, is this purchase necessary? And I did see a comment that was saying no big purchases unless it's an emergency for the next 4 years. And I think that we should start evaluating, like, okay, like, is this a necessity, or am I just buying because of superficial reasons? Like, you don't need to, I was thinking about this the other day, you don't need to buy the new iPhone. If your iPhone works, or whatever phone you have, if it's still working, keep that phone. This is how we're going to put them out of business. They want to convince you that you need the latest and the newest version. You don't.
Right. I was literally just about to say that. I was about to use that as an example because, yes, I have an Apple phone, but my phone still works. Like, why am I going to get rid of it? Again, boycotting means to stop now. And like what you did in the past, like, you have to learn from those mistakes. It's like, I've had the same phone for over 5 years. And before that, I had an iPhone 7 for the longest time ever. And then it was time, again, when you get, like, with your car, with your laptop, whatever you need, because you need it for work. And unfortunately, now we live in a society where you need a phone for work, which is crazy. There are times where I don't even want a phone. And it's like, no, if you don't have a phone number or an email, or you have to have this app to clock in and this app to keep up with conversations and this app and that app. And there's so many things just for you to have a basic ass job. Even if you're just a cashier, not like putting that down, like, you still need all these apps on your phone. And it's just crazy. Like, they make us have all these things that we really don't need. It's like, is this making our lives easier, or is this making it more inconvenient for us? And they set it up that way where it's like Danny was saying, where it's like, oh, get the new phone, you need a phone. You're buying a new phone every year. And it's like, yeah, maybe that brings you happiness, but I'm sure you could find happiness in other ways that aren't spending money.
Right, and I'm sure people are gonna point out the MacBook that I have. And yeah, maybe this will last me another 4 or 5 years and I can consider buying from a different company. But like Mel was saying, because they've built it so that it's a monopoly, you do end up buying from the same people because they enforce it that way. They make it more convenient. They make it so that you have the best quality with them and nowhere else.
Right. And another thing I want to say about boycotting is, because this was something I thought about and I still think about, where I'm like, oh, but what about those employees for those companies? And we have to get ready for this shift. The shift is happening. And if we start boycotting stores, like I live in Seattle where Starbucks literally was invented and created. And I've watched multiple locations close down around because of people boycotting, because nobody's going there anymore. And you have to think about the implications of like, okay, now all those people have lost their job. So we have to be ready for the shift, and we have to be ready as maybe creators, small business owners, like how can we help those people now? How can we help them get a job now? How can we give them another opportunity? We have to, that's why it's so important to support small businesses, small creators, artists, and start buying from each other and circulating the wealth to each other. Like if your friend's struggling to pay rent, but you have it, help them out. Like we get so greedy in ourselves too, where it's like, oh, I'm not gonna help you. Oh, I did it myself, so you do it yourself. And that meant we need to get out of that ecocentric mentality, because that's what's crushing this world and society. We need to help each other out.
I agree. And I was going to point out, we're already seeing the layoffs in the workforce. And we're already seeing the effects that this economy is having on the everyday working class. And the greed is not just within the billionaires, right? The greed is within all these CEOs that want to be the billionaires. Like, we're seeing this mindset from our country's current administration trickling down throughout corporations. And that's where we're at, right? We're at the class war. We're at the wealth discrepancy, the wealth gap discrepancy. We're here. It's happening already. So people that want to be like, well, this isn't affecting me, it's going to. If it hasn't already, it's going to. So as much as there are the evil billionaires and businessmen in our government, we do have those in our government that are fighting against them, like AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Jasmine Crockett. Which leads me to this clip from Representative Jasmine Crockett.
Gonna sit around while you go ahead and desecrate our Constitution, or you look at the laws that have been passed into law and say, never mind, we'll just ignore that. Instead, we are going to be in your face, we are going to be on your asses, and we are going to make sure you understand what democracy looks like.
Exactly.
What I love about Jasmine Crockett is her ability to be relatable. I don't want to hear anybody coming for Jasmine Crockett for cursing in her speech.
No, we're so far from that. Literally, fuck it.
Fuck it. And that's what I don't understand either. It's like, this is all part of the censorship that most Republicans are against. So let people fucking speak the way they want to speak, right? Just as much as your president says whatever he wants to say.
People contradict themselves left and right, talking about they want freedom of speech, but then when it comes to them saying things that they don't agree with, they're like, no, but not that. And that goes for a lot of people.
I think you mentioned this in another video of ours. Literally everyone is a hypocrite at some point or another in their life.
And that's okay, because we're learning and we're growing, and things are constantly evolving and changing.
So this next creator talks about something we touched upon earlier when it comes to activist shaming, and also sheds light on the current political climate of Gaza, which is not even current. This has been going on for decades. So we did want to talk about Palestine and free Palestine. We're talking about Palestine until Palestine is free. I do want to point out there are multiple creators that are collabing on this post, but I do want to shout out our.moral.imperative. I do get a lot of my information from that page as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it so for real. I'm fucking terrified. I'm terrified because this escalation of fascism was preventable. And no, it is not the fault of people who actually oppose genocide that this is happening. I'm actually terrified because there are people who are more upset with people who said no to genocide than they are at the people in power who are committing said genocide. Now, mind you, this is me and my friend Mimi at a protest in 2020 protesting the illegal occupation of Palestinian land. Mimi has been doing this since she was a motherfucking child. I'm terrified because people keep asking how societies like this happen. And they happen because there are a lot of quote unquote good people that turn a blind eye to the atrocities of the empire. But protect your peace, I guess. I am terrified because y'all are more focused on attacking the left, immigrant communities, and people who oppose genocide than actually acknowledging and grappling with the fact that the people who are in power, who we are empowering with our faith and active participation, have decided to spend our tax dollars on endless wars and genocide instead of protecting your children, housing you and feeding you in your own country. And now more than ever, we need each other. And y'all wonder how Nazi Germany happened. It's because, quote unquote, good people like yourselves turned a blind eye to the long-term agenda. Because again, one ballot box, two ballot box, three ballot box was not going to stop the fascist agenda. Only a well-organized, concise, anti-fascist movement can do that. This country was built on genocide. We have concentration camps all across this country that we call prisons, where people are literally getting beaten to death and being enslaved to make free products for corporations. Gaza has been an open-air concentration camp for the past 18, 20 years. And now they are creating a concentration camp on Guantanamo Bay for immigrant communities. Do y'all not understand what the fuck is going on right now? So I guess what I'm saying is, and I'll whisper now, get a fucking grip. Get a fucking grip. Actually direct your anger at the people who deserve it. Direct your anger at the people who deserve it.
Another message that we're trying to get through in this video is direct your anger at the right people.
I feel like this video encapsulated a lot of the points we mentioned thus far, and I have no more words because I feel like they summed it up perfectly.
We're going to link a lot of pages and sources down below if you're not informed on what's going on. And it's just getting worse, like I said, by the hour, because just recently Trump thinks that, again, we're in the game of Monopoly and he thinks he can buy the Gaza Strip, and it's again, there are no conspiracies happening. This is all real life. It's not a conspiracy that millions of people have been murdered. Like, it's just crazy that there's still people out there who don't believe that these things are actually even occurring. And it's like, all you need to do is find the sources that are giving you the correct information.
Right. And this is for the people, again, who are saying, well, this doesn't affect me. Think about yourself in that position. Just because you think this is not happening to you, that it's not your problem, think about if you were in this position and your people were being attacked, you would want other people to care about that, right? Even if it's not affecting them, you would still want them to care and be in your corner and help fight this fight. That's what you need to fucking think about. Just having basic human compassion.
Literally, wake up. That is the message. Wake up. They wiped out half of a population in less than a year. And obviously the occupation's been happening, like we said, for decades, but the genocide And the fact that this video probably is not even going to get shared and or maybe even viewed and pushed out because the algorithm doesn't allow us to speak on these subjects is crazy, but that can happen at any moment, at any time, to any of us. And again, it shouldn't have to affect you directly for you to actually fucking care.
Our heart is with the Palestinian people, and they are resilient, they're strong, and they will get their land back.
They will. And while we're speaking on freedom, I also want to say free Sudan and Congo as well. Again, we're not going in depth on all of these political, and it shouldn't even be political, on just all these atrocities that are happening. But again, we're linking sources down below for you to educate yourself.
Speaking of giving people their land back, let's segue into our next video.
The next video we're going to show comes from a page called brown.decolonial. And just let the video play out before you jump to any conclusions, okay?
A Donald Trump presidency, we will finally evict all of these illegal aliens that are coming here and stealing jobs from Americans. If you break into my house, should I just accept you because you washed my dishes and made my beds? I say no. I say you need to go back and come back in the right way.
So is that what the Indians should have told white Americans?
Absolutely. Ask Cochise if border control is important.
Because the original illegal alien are European white folk in America.
Agreed.
And so should the Indians stand up today and say deport all white folks back to Europe?
Well, should we learn something from their mistake? Because we are here now.
Or should you learn something from their compassion to give other people an opportunity like was given to you and your ancestors? Learn from their compassion. That's what you should learn from.
I say learn from their mistakes. Ask Geronimo if taking care of your borders is important. We need to do that now.
And I agree with Cochise, Geronimo, and Sitting Bull. Letting in the white man was the worst mistake that the Indians ever could have made. I agree with you. That was one of the greatest mistakes. Even right there in South Africa, they got a similar problem.
It's ironic this white man wants to say that we need to deport the current illegal immigrants, but yet when it was brought up that white Europeans are illegal immigrants, he wants to be like, well, we're here now. So apply that same logic with the current illegal immigrants. They're here now.
Exactly. Give them the proper paperwork, help them become citizens, because we're all technically illegal. None of us belong here. And I just want to say, you guys need to pay attention to history and pay attention to what's going on, because like I said, nothing has really changed. The same things that were happening centuries ago are happening again now.
So we did have to cut out some of the videos we did want to share today, but we're not going to stop advocating for marginalized voices, trans rights, human rights, illegal immigrants. And there are so many resources, like we said, we'll link them below. Please educate yourself on your rights, especially if you are the targeted group. Please don't allow these agencies to intimidate and bully you, because you do have rights, and please stay protected.
We want everyone to stay safe, and we want this to be a safe space, and we want to build community. That's always been the goal for our channel and for any art and any content we put out there. But we do want to end this video on somewhat of a light note, because we do want to always bring entertainment and laughter, because it is important. Don't let them take your laughter and your happiness away from you. And I know that that is easier said than done, and definitely easier coming from someone who's not as personally affected. But we hope that we can still spread some kind of light.
We have some huge breaking news right now. We have some big news right now. We have some terrible breaking news coming. We have some really big news tonight. And we have another terrible breaking news up. We have some scary news. We have some big news right now, but we have a devastating update regarding.
That kind of sums up what's been going on.
We are all that dog. Okay, so my comedy video is for all of our girlies that have to wear glasses. But here's a funny video from the creator Sister Large Fries. Love that name.
enforcement found shell casings at the crime scene with the words deny, defend, and depose.
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 Oh, God. God bless America.
Well, we love you guys, and come back to our channel and like and subscribe and do all those things. We never ask for that, so we're asking this time. So please do all those great things and stay safe.
Yes, we have quite a few videos coming up and plenty of ideas to share with you all. So we look forward to seeing you there.